Are we all cured? We've gone through fucking... We've gone through fucking shit that we fucking drug abuse. No! Are you listening?
Lorne Armstrong. Oh my God. I hope this helps some of you too. Some of you in relationships where you're kind of unhappy and you can't put your finger on it. Last night in TCAB Gaming, we were listening to the call where he makes up a date. It's obvious this is a last-ditch effort to get her to act the way he wants or the way he perceived that she used to act. We are talking about Ramona, of course. If you don't know the call, you're new to Lorneography, or you just haven't dealt with Ramona, because it can be maddening sometimes. She talks in circles almost as much as Lorne does, and there's some really uncomfortable pauses as she's trying to think of what to say, or maybe getting fed her lines. But it's this. Lorne, who persistently thinks that he is a catch, and that him severing a relationship is going to devastate a woman, he just makes up a date. And when he's confronted, of course he puts himself on mute on a three-way call, but we know Lorne, he can't keep his freaking mouth shut. This is a guy who in junior high wants Bobby to call Jenny, and I'm just making this up, this is not a story I've been told, wants Bobby to call Jenny, and he'll sit on the other line quiet while Bobby asks Jenny if she likes him. And Lorne, of course, if he sees or hears anything, sees a situation where he can pipe up and he feels it's going to benefit him, he's going to break his trust that he had with his friend and jump in. Or if he feels like the situation is going south, which it most likely would, he's going to jump in, again, breaking his friend's trust. So Lorne interjects, of course he does, and they're trying to get him, you call your date, Lorne, and cancel, and Ramona will cancel hers. Lorne his 87 brain is working overtime. It turns backwards and becomes 78. So he starts making up some stuff that, oh, well, Tony has to call her because she didn't want to give her number out. And they expertly point out, how can you go on a date with somebody? How can you coordinate anything if you don't have her number? Oh, well, she doesn't like to give it out. We'll call Tony. Oh, okay, hold on. I'm getting to the point here. The bottom line is that Lorne is trying to get Ramona off the three-way call and get her alone so he can drop this charade and he can immediately go into what he wants to talk about. Baby, why are you doing this to us? You're killing us. He's not been hearing her that she's telling him she wants to date people in her area, her own age, that aren't going to be abusive. Lorne doesn't hear any of that. As a matter of fact, she mentions smoking, and the only thing Lorne responds with is, well, smoking, you know, you didn't have a problem with me smoking before. Just like when Debbie's telling him he's a disgusting pedophile, and the only thing he hears is what she said about his looks. So at the very end, like a typical abuser, Lorne says he's a changed man, and then he starts raging, and you can hear it is a burning rage bubbling underneath. And I'm getting to the point of today's video. And then he goes into this, better wear some, don't try and turn him on. He's starting to tell her how she should dress, how she should act while she's going out on a date with somebody that she deserves, and that deserves her by all accounts. Two good people. And he tries to salvage it with this really forced laugh. And then Ramona goes into an incredibly boring story about diapers, and she's laughing back, and Lorne thinks he's got her. And at the very end of the call, he's like, you know, promise me you won't stay the night or something. And he's like, promise me. Promise me? He's trying to be all cute and loving, but it's too late. This is a last-ditch effort for someone who's dealing with intermittent reinforcement. And what does that mean? Well, some of you are in a bad relationship, and you remember what it was like when it was good, so you will do anything to recreate those situations. Those experiments with dogs, who at the very end of one tunnel, they've got food, at the very end, they've got something else. And the dogs will continue to do it because they remember the times when they actually got food, or those rats in mazes where they drop pellets. They will continue to do this no matter what because they remember what it's like when they get that food. Or someone with a gambling addiction who goes to a slot machine or plays craps or roulette. You know that intermittent reinforcement, that closeness, because that is the word you use with intermittent reinforcement. And yes, it sometimes deals with someone who is abusive, but it also sometimes deals with women who withhold sex until you do a specific thing, which I think is ridiculous, but it happens. Guys or ladies or men, women, he, she, they, them, I am not knocking that. I'm not making fun of it. I'm saying everybody on the planet. If you're with somebody who withholds closeness, intimacy, sex, anything to get what they want, to make you continue wanting what they can give, it is time to work hard on that relationship or move on. Because intermittent reinforcement is that slot machine. It's addictive. People get addicted to it. They crave when they hit that jackpot, that emotional jackpot, and they get what they want. And in a desperate bid for control, they act out. They get angry. Who does this sound like? And I'm talking about the Ramona relationship, where occasionally, not so much Winnie, because I think Winnie was more to drive him insane, but occasionally he would get something from Ramona that would make him feel good. And he wanted to get that. Yes, there's insecurity and relationship OCD, and we talked about all that. But intermittent reinforcement, that would be when, say, Ramona was friendly, nice even to this undeserving, unrepentant pedophile. And Lorne remembers that. But see, Lorne, he never forgets things he doesn't want to forget. Like Nikki or Paula or Amanda James or any other bullshit he spouts. With Ramona, he remembers, like I said one time, talking about the penis picture, you said that could be enough, that could work. So he remembered that. He didn't hear that she didn't ask for it, that she didn't want it. He just remembered what she said when he sent it. She was talking about being on a plane ride with a friend, and all of a sudden these pictures come in, probably with Lorne with his tongue out, or with his lips trying to look cute, showing that crooked broken dick because he needs that positive reinforcement. And that's intermittent reinforcement with him. He wants her to talk about that crooked broken dick and give him some kind of high five or pat on the back. Now this doesn't work with friends. It's not usually something that you do with friends because you don't care as much about them. You're not getting that intimacy, that feeling of being loved from them. You're being liked. You're getting some people to talk to. And Lorne's never had real friends. I mean, in the military, I'm certain the person who took that picture where he's sitting on his bed was definitely not a friend. He probably handed them the camera. All right, take a picture of me. I knew guys like that. I did. One guy's name was LeClaire. And we tried to be friends with him, but you couldn't because he was such a piece of shit. He really was. And McGuffey, oh my God. We were in Thailand, and he comes back to the room, and he's got pictures of himself, Polaroids, having sex with no protection with Thailand hookers. And he wanted to show it to everybody. Nobody wants to be friends with somebody who's going to go, hey, how you doing? Check these pictures out. Why do I bring that up? Because that's what Lorne was doing. He's lashing out, doing anything he can to get some kind of attention. Now the date, we go back to it. He made it up because he thought, you do this to me, I'll do this to you. Because now we're on an even playing field. Now I'm trying really hard. I got to get control over this situation. I've got to get it to the point where she's giving me what I want all of the time. He's an addict, like people who need a fix. Druggies. They remember that first high and they try to capture it for the rest of their life. Those guys that jump out of planes, I think I mentioned this scenario before, and they spend the rest of their life trying to capture that feeling. And you can't really do that. Because a first is a first. That first orgasm you have, it's freaking intense. And you kind of don't know what's going on, but you do it anyway. And for young men, once they do it once, it's like, oh, the wind blew, time to do it again. Think of it in terms of your first Lorne video and how you felt. All of those emotions, like you couldn't believe what was going on. You were angry, you were laughing, you weren't really sad, you kind of felt sorry for him in some places. And then you got to know Lorne. And you looked for those calls because you realized the only thing you're getting is mad and disgusted. So you look for those other calls that will make you laugh, which is why a lot of those calls are replayed. It's the same thing in a relationship. You would think that the abuse victim, Ramona, would be desperately trying to get him to start treating her nicely again when he did for those first couple of weeks. But he couldn't do it. And because Ramona was a catfish, she didn't care that much. She didn't really concern herself with how, because she was just trying to get a recording. So in a sense, with Lorne, it's reverse, because Ramona should be the one trying to get him to stop abusing her and to treat her like he once did. But he spends all of his time accusing her of cheating, doing anything he can, like when he mentions Xavier to Winnie, because he thinks that's going to piss Winnie off. She's going to focus back on me. She knows she's going to, do you want to lose me? Because you're on the verge, like he said to Ramona. But he tells Winnie, you're losing us. You're killing us. You're going to lose me. Look at where you're at now. You're fighting to keep me. When they're really not, because we know Lorne. Whatever he believes is the truth is the truth. And however he feels, he believes that other people feel as well. And he projects his feelings onto them in a worse way. The honeymoon phase that Lorne loves so much. I've loved you, Casey. I love you for a long time. Whether you know it or not, doesn't matter. I do, and that's what's important. That's what he likes. And he fights to keep that, but he doesn't realize he's the one who's destroying it. He's the one who's treating these women like garbage. He's the one who drives them away. And when you're dealing with somebody like that bipolar person, the one who can go from I'm a changed man to rage instantly, the one who can go from rage to crying to immediately flipping it back on. We know Lorne doesn't cry unless he doesn't get his way, or unless he doesn't want the other person to run away. He wants them to focus solely on him, and he wants them to feel bad. Oh, poor Lorne, he's crying. He knows that will get him attention, but as you notice, diminishing returns as his relationships go on, because they get tired of it. They don't want that closeness. In a relationship, as you get more into it, as it goes on, you have to do romantic things, but you don't want to do them all the time because it reduces the impact. But you also don't want to do it to try to manipulate them, to try and love bomb them, because women can see through it. I've never been with a woman who did romantic things, because I grew up in an era where it's old-fashioned. Chivalry, you still open the door. Men were the ones who asked the women out, paid for everything. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, I'm just putting it in perspective. Women have done nice things for me. So here's where Lorne gets it wrong. If he wants this intermittent reinforcement, some people at work need constant reinforcement. Well, we're talking about intimacy and intermittent reinforcement. If he wanted that, she's going on this date. He should have been on his best behavior and said, I hope you have a good time. And then he would have he said, if you go over to that therapist's house, I'm going to spend the rest of the night a nervous wreck. Oh no, Lorne's going to be a nervous wreck. I should be worried about that all night on my date. When things are going poorly, you have to remember, acting on your best behavior, that's a quick fix. You have to fix yourself. Think about it. All of a sudden, you're really nice. I'll do whatever you want. When we were getting a divorce, I knew it was the best thing for us. But I was willing to even date my ex again. I didn't want to stay with her. But I wanted that intermittent reinforcement. I remember what it was like when things were fun. But diminishing returns, sooner or later you're with them for 10 to 11 years and you realize, how did I get here? You ask yourself, how did I get here? Lorne, as we've said, Lorne, you're screaming and yelling and abusing. Look at how you're behaving. And then Lorne, of course, look at how you're behaving. You're abusing me by not calling or texting me. He'll never accept responsibility. So when he asks himself, how did I get here? He created it. He created the need for that intermittent reinforcement. He created that gambling feeling where, please, I just got to figure out how to do something to get it. I need my fix. And that is why he will never have a real relationship, among other things, as we have discussed. So if Ramona was real, she dodged a bullet. So what I'm saying is, if you're in a relationship and you need that intermittent reinforcement and you're dreaming of the days when it was good, you need to have a discussion with your partner and you need to try to figure out, how do we get there together for us? Or how do we get there together? Because it can't be one-sided. It can't. And Lorne should have left Ramona when she was talking about going out with other guys, and he's talking about, you're cheating on me. You're cheating on me again, just like with Winnie. Are you cheating on me still? He can't let it go. Intermittent reinforcement creates addiction. I don't want you to get there. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one.